Hello, everybody. It's me, Ross, and welcome to another edition of the League One Lowdown, where I speak to fans, podcasters, and journalists from all League One clubs to get their thoughts for the coming season. Today, I'm joined by Liam from the MK1Podcast, MK Dons fan. Liam, thank you very much for joining me. Introduce yourself. Let us know what your podcast is all about, of course, on MK Dons. But how did it all start for you?
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for having me. In terms of the podcast, lockdown kind of started, to be fair. A group of us kind of got together and thought, should we, create a podcast in a sense? Because there hasn't really been that in the Dons fan base since we've been a club, really. There's been one, but it was more, I suppose, pub talk based. So we wanted to focus on the football side of things a bit more. So myself, Ross, and Joe started that. It's our second season now. First season went quite well. Got fans of the year at the club in terms of the content we're producing alongside Jonathan Harries, who does brilliant work himself. Gone from strength to strength since there. In terms of Dons themselves, been a fan since he moved to Milton Keynes, really. Watched a few Wimbledon SC games whilst they were here, but I sort of incorporated Dons as my local side because I lived in the area at the time. Now I live up in Leicestershire, soon to be London again. Been this fan ever since, and been seeing to take a hold of for many years now.
Yeah. Of course, we won't get into the controversy of AFC Wimbledon and MK Dons, but we'll get into MK Dons. Last season, 13th, Russell Martin in charge. Of course, he's got that Norwich connection, so we won't talk much about him. But in terms of MK Dons, the transfer business, the ins and outs, the big name is Scott Fraser, of course, newly now at Town. I was speaking off air with you. Have you got over it yet? But you've made some decent business so far. Scott Twine is the replacement. But what are the other key players that you like? And are you a big fan of Scott Twine as well?
Yeah, well, as I said, we're speaking off air, Ross, about how when you look at Twine and Fraser's numbers for the past couple of seasons, they're very similar in terms of creativity and going forward. Of course, Twine likes a shot a bit more than Scott does, and Scott had a lot more box-to-box work for us when he was at the club. Maybe initially the replacement wasn't really Twine. There's the idea that both played together. Now it's happened. I'm sure Twine will fit in really well. Outside of Twine, it's really a business so far. Of course, the forwards have been a key talking point in getting in Max Watters from Cardiff on loan and Mo Isa recently permanently. Sort of bring a different sort of life to the forwards position, which before that was just a bunch of kids really, and Charlie Brown, who of course was a former Ipswich player, and Jay Bird, who has had a good pre-season to be fair, and I'm sure we'll speak on him later. Outside of them two, Josh Martin coming in from Norwich on loan looks to be an exciting wing back for us. He's played winger before and even attacking mid, but with this Russ Martin side, who quite inventive and quite proactive in the ways they want to play, they're not afraid to play players out of position. And Josh Martin has been playing on the wing back as a wing back throughout pre-season, has done really well, and the connection between him and Twine has been quite prevalent from what we've seen and been told. And outside that, it's mostly been depth signings. Ethan Robson comes in from Blackpool on loan, of course, as a part of that promotion-winning side last campaign, and I'm sure he brings a bit of, if not depth, and if not that, a starting role and in a midfield which is dominated by left-footed midfielders. So Ethan fits into that quite well. Strengthening out the goalkeeper core again with Laurie Walker, who had a spell at Oldham last season as like an emergency loan, who has always been a good servant to the club, and he comes in and to compete with in a number 2 role with Franco Ravazzoli, who was at Eastbourne previously and sort of shows the tendencies that Russ Martin likes to see from his keepers and Dean Thornton, in the sense of that they like to play the ball with their feet, aren't scared, quite brave keepers, and don't let mistakes get to their heads, essentially.
And, I know it's early doors to start predicting, and, a lot of people are probably now putting together their league table predictions. MK Dons last 2 seasons, 13th, 19th under Russell Martin. I'm sure he's got a project here. He's got that connection with Norwich, bringing in the lone player with Josh Martin and stuff. Are you liking what he's doing? And where do you think you go? Early prediction, heart on heart. Where do you reckon this year? Could you be that promotion? I think this League One is going to be the hardest league to get out of this year. It's a Championship 2.0, basically. It's going to be so open, all the business going on. But MK Dons, are they in for a shout?
I'd say so. I was looking at the squads throughout the rest of the league throughout this afternoon, and I've been kind of comparing it to us right now. And I could probably put about 5 or 6 teams I think have probably got a better squad than Dons right now in terms of the personnel they've got and how they're built. So I think with that judgment, name them. I think Ipswich are one of them, of course. I'm sure we'll get to business later on, but I like that it's a Wickham. I think Wickham will always be up there. And I'm always a big fan of Rotherham in terms of the business they do. Then you got teams like Lincoln, who I'm sure will always be up there with Appleton, the signings he's making. And of course, last season we've had 2 competitive games with them. But outside of that, I find it tough to see. I'm not a big fan of Wigan. I think Wigan I'm not. Wyke and Humphreys aren't 2 players that really excite me. Guion Edwards, I know he's a squad player, really. I think for a team like Wigan, who, a bit like yourselves, both had that more of a cash injection recently. Haven't seen too much from Wigan that I quite like. But yeah, there's a handful of teams that I think are on par with us in terms of the players they've got on the squad. Of course, the goal for the club will always be progression, so going up from 13th last season would always be the goal. But I think with the players that we're signing, and typically with the Dons fans base is quite an ambitious one. So I think top 6 should and will be the aim.
We'll wait and see on that, and we'll get on to at the end of the video. We'll go on to what you expect for the MK Dons Ipswich Town game, because that is in, I think, the second to last week of August. So it's early doors. We'll be playing MK Dons. I think you guys are coming to Portman Road. We've actually got a bit of a double header. We've got MK Dons and then we've got AFC Wimbledon, so we're playing both of you guys. But in terms of Town's business, you sort of said, we've got new owners, we've got Ed Sheeran on the front of the shirt. And we've made some good signings. What's your, as an outsider, I've spoken to all the other fans for this series, and as an outsider, what do you think of Town's business? And do you reckon we'll be up there, or will it all just fall away, even though it's all this excitement?
No, I was looking at the business, and I think it's pretty impressive. Of course, we've spoken about Scott Fraser a fair bit. Last season, one of the better midfielders in this league, so acquiring his services is quite a pivotal part of that. The Dessel worries me a little bit, but I think bringing in Harper, of course, Evans from Wigan, who I think I've always liked Evans as a player. He's a hard worker, will run the midfield quite well. I think with the talent of Harper, if he can come through, just about nullifies that. And of course, Joe Pigott coming in, all Don fans know about Joe Pigott. It'd be interesting to see if he can step up from, fighting in the bottom of the league to the top of it. Or I suppose we should hope it would be with the signings they've made. But yeah, listen, it's a talented squad. And of course, the keeper coming in from Salford, who had a really good season last year in League Two. So yeah, it's a talented squad. Of course, the main question will be, can they put it all together and put in a promotion-winning campaign? But I think looking at the Ipswich squad, I wouldn't be too worried about others in the league. And I'll be focusing on yourselves in terms of trying to gel together early and picking up some quick results.
Now, the last few games against MK Dons, they've been close encounters. I don't think they've been that thrilling of matches. So a few games would have kicked on in League One when we face each other. What do you expect that game to be? Russell Martin's got the Norwich connection, so I'm sure Town fans will be booing him. But what's your thinks on that? And Scott Fraser, what sort of reception? I don't know when we'll be playing each other. Let me quickly get it when we heading to MK Dons.
It's a little while, I think.
Yeah, February. So, but what do you reckon, Scott Fraser? Do you think you'll get a good reception? I know he only had one season with you guys, but a great season. Didn't have an opportunity to play in front of fans. Maybe a few games.
A few games. Very positive. I think, Scott, we all said, I said to you pre-record, we all knew he was going to move on. I think that was a general consensus. And, there were set fees for every player, but I think if there's one player that was going to leave, Scott was going to be the guy. We're surprised at Ipswich. We can't hoping it'd be out of the division. But hey, listen, you can't choose who's going to do that sort of business with you. So yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, no, it'll be positive. Scott was brilliant last season. He carried us through many a game. And we always beat Premier League opposition like Burnley, for example, in the Cup with Scotland, the likes of Karen Drone, people like that. So yeah, positive, and I'm sure it'll be a competitive game for both games this season. Of course, we probably should have won the game at your place last year if Matt O'Reilly had finished dinner a bit better. But yeah, I think it's both teams are on the up, and I think they'll be looking at the table this year rather than down it.
Definitely, yeah. Hopefully a good season on both sides. Liam, anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
No, just if you fancy, listen to our podcast, TheMK1Podcast on all social media platforms and, of course, podcast platforms. I'm sure we're speaking to yourself, Ross, later on the season regarding our games. So, look forward to it.
Sounds good. But yeah, I'm sure some MK Don fans watching this, and also Town fans, of course. So let us know in the comments down below your thoughts on both sides. Liam, thank you very much for joining me once again. And make sure to stay tuned for further League One lowdowns, many other clubs to talk to. And we'll see you next time for that. Bye-bye for now.